All right, today's lesson or workshop is going to be covering rain barrels. And that's just in time for the season that's coming right now.
Okay.
If you could, please mute your microphones. If you have any questions, just press and hold the space bar while you speak, and this will minimize the feedback and not interrupt the class. Topics we're going to cover is why do you want to capture rainwater? Going to cover the Longview area rainfall, the legalities of it, the safety of it, how to construct a rain barrel, how to install a rain barrel, and how to decorate one if you want to get fancy. Commercial types, larger systems, how you calculate how much you need, the maintenance you have to do on them, and what to do with the excessive amount of water you get. First of all, just some thoughts why you want to capture rainwater. It's easy to store, it's chlorine free, and it's great for the plants. It's readily available, convenient, and easy to do. Saves money. You can reduce well demand if you're on a well and wear and tear on your pump. You can protect the landscaping through drought seasons, and you improve the environment by reducing stormwater runoff. Free and pure rainwater. And there's a caption from an old-time movie. But the only problem is it always comes at the wrong times. So if you notice in December 2007 in Chehalis, that's what it looked like right off of Interstate 5. There's a big Kmart right back here in the background that was pretty much flooded out. And December, and I'm going to show you this graph right here. The Longview rainfall graph for the year, usually our rainfall times are January through almost till June, and then it starts back up in the end of September and goes through December. And if you're planting a vegetable garden, you're going to start your vegetable garden roughly around the May time frame, and it's going to go all the way through September, some even through October and into November. So the rainy seasons are every month that we don't garden in usually. So the rain barrels will help you out a little bit. So here's the first poll question, Gary. Hey, Gary? There it is. Okay, is it legal in the state of Washington to collect rainwater? Yes or no? You submit the answer, just click on it and then submit, and then it'll tally up the polls.
And we have 9 people 10 people. God, people are doing pretty good. Okay.
Okay.
And share the results. Everybody said yes.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Okay, rainwater legalities. You do not need a permit to collect rainwater. However, there's some stipulations that you have to follow when you're collecting this rainwater. One is you cannot sell it. It must be used on the same property where it is collected. Rainwater may only collect from existing structures. You cannot construct structures specifically to collect rainwater. And it cannot adversely impact stream flows. And this is from the Washington Department of Ecology, and that's from 2009. Okay, next poll, Gary. Is it safe to drink the water from a rain barrel?
Okay, we have, I've closed the poll and your results are 7 said no and 3 said yes.
Okay, good. All right. So the answer to that question is, you have to be careful of the rainwater you collect due to the roofing materials the roof is made from. And then once again, you got bacteria from bird droppings up there. So you want to be careful of drinking that water. Roof collected rainwater is not potable. Do not drink it. Do not give it to your pets. When you irrigate your vegetables, you want to water the ground at the ground, or water the plants at the ground level only. You want to be careful not to get the foliage. If in doubt, you can always have it tested. And there's the site for that, where I got that information. Okay, some thoughts you want to think about prior to collecting your rainwater. The big thought is what is the roofing made out of? What's the flashing made out of? What are your gutters made out of? And your downspouts. What treatments have you applied to your roof? So have you put moss out on top of your roof? Have you done any kind of treatment on the roof to preserve it? A lot of people put Tide with bleach on top of their roofs to get rid of the moss. There's all kinds of things you got to be careful of that's going to run down into that gutter and collect for you. Another thing you want to be wary of is how old the roof is. Next thing is what collects on your roof. What do you want to do with the water? Okay, is rainwater from your roof safe? This is going to be a neat survey they did here. This is from the Roofing Material Assessment, Investigation of Toxic Chemicals in Roof Runoff. This is done by the Washington Department of Ecology. Okay, this result is also in the links for the references, but if you go onto this site, you just click on this right here, this link right here, and this it'll bring you into the survey, and it's a 118-page survey. And this is the setup they did. They put 18 different types of roofing material on sloped roofs. Some are low slopes and some are high slopes, and they collected the runoff and then tested it. So the results are going to be shown. First of all, here's the different types of roofing material. They did asphalt shingles, some that were treated with algae resistant, some that were not. They had copper, concrete tile, galvanized steel that was painted, treated wood shakes, wood shingles untreated, frosted glass, plastic, asphalt granulated cap sheets, polyvinyl chloride, thermoplastic, zinc, and then frosted glass on a low slope. So as you can see, there's different, just about every type of roofing material you can imagine is what they tested. And the survey says this is in UG per L, and that's a density measurement. It's equivalent to parts per billion. And here's what they found out after the tests. So I'll let you look at that for a couple minutes. But as you can see, the results are quite surprising. So especially with the arsenic the heavy metals, cadmium, copper, lead, zinc, they all showed results from this. And that, once again, was from that survey. So general guidelines, if there is any doubt, have your roof runoff tested. And Gary, go ahead and put the last survey up. So this one is, what is the safest roofing material to collect out of the following? And just click what one you think it is and submit it.
So painted galvanized sheet, roofing material, asphalt, shingles treated with algae-resistant chemicals, treated cedar shingles, or concrete tiles. And there's 6, 7. We're getting there. Okay.
See what we got.
But you have 3 of you that thought the painted galvanized steel, and the rest of you thought concrete tiles.
Wow, good deal. All right, check this out. As you can see, the aged asphalt shingles without algae resistant was one of the best. The galvanized painted steel was a good one. Aged wood shingles that were never treated were all good. Then we get down into the little bit of a caution sign. New asphalt shingles with algae resistant. New wood shingles. Aged treated wood shingles. Concrete tile. And any new roof after the first year. And then they got the frowning one. This is the ones that I wouldn't use at all, warning. Asphalt shingles with algae resistant. Manufactured treated wood shingles. Copper roofing, lead flashing, zinc flashing, and no moss strips. So that's kind of surprising when you start looking at all this stuff and what the results were from the tests. So this here is about drinking the water. Remember, the water in your rain barrel is not potable. And I think the correct pronunciation is potable. Do not use it for drinking, washing, or cooking. The water in your rain barrel likely will contain fecal, coliform bacteria from bird droppings and other potentially harmful microbes. So this is stuff just to be aware of. Okay, now that we told you all the bad stuff about it, now we're going to show you how to make a rain barrel to collect all of it. So here's the kind of parts you need. You're going to need a barrel, which is right here, a bib, which is down here, that's going to connect your hose, your faucet. You're going to need a screen grate up on top. You're going to need an overflow hose. And some fitting for your downspout, which is up here, right there. And then concrete blocks just to raise it up a little bit so you get a gravity flow and you can get a bucket underneath there to collect it if you have to use it. And the biggest thing about rain barrels is if you're using rain barrels, if you have to tote water, chances are the stuff you're going to tote water to won't get watered because you're not going to tote it. So rain barrels are kind of nice to put them where you need them. So here's some ideas on supplies. These are all brand new. A 55-gallon barrel will run you about $84. However, if you call a lot of people that work with bulk foods, chances are you can get them to offload their barrels for recycling, and usually they'll charge you about $5 or less for a barrel. A diverter for your downspout will run you roughly about $14.99. I'll show you a way around that. Your 6-inch screen goes for $7.29 for 2 of them. I just looked these prices up today. And your bib and bulkhead fitting is about $12.99. And a 3/4-inch PVC elbow for an overflow is about $1.09 roughly. So when you're constructing your barrel, if you're using a 55-gallon food-safe barrel, you want to lay it on your side. You're going to drill a hole about 2 to 4 inches from the bottom of the barrel. That'll be right here, about 1 inch in diameter. This will fit a 3/4 inch bib. So you get this bib and you're just going to either Teflon tape that bib, screw it in a little bit, then shoot it with a silicone around there or some type of sealant, and then screw it the rest of the way in. And that'll make a nice seal for your water for your valve. Here's a little better idea that I like a little more, and I would just use a bulkhead fitting. And what this does is you just drill the same type of hole, and you're going to slide this bulkhead fitting through. This nut comes off, so this bulkhead fitting is going to slide through that hole. Then you're going to put the nut on, and then your valve will screw right onto the end of the bulkhead fitting. There's a rubber washer in between these two parts, so that usually seals that drum so you don't get any leakage. And then that elbow is just an overflow for up top. But I like using the bulkhead fitting a little better. And I think if I went back, I think that one includes the bulkhead fitting right here. It's a copper. For $12.99, you get the valve and the bulkhead fitting with the washer on there. So once we got the valve drilled out, then you want to put a hole in the top. Some of them have the screw-on cap, and if they don't, you just cut a hole and then drop a strainer in on top of that. You can cut a hole using a hole saw or an adjustable hole saw, or just using an old-fashioned saw, a keyhole saw. After that's all done, you want to get your overflow. So you're going to drill that 1 inch hole again up on the top, wherever you want to put it, where you don't want this barrel to overflow, usually about maybe 2 inches down from the top. Screw that elbow into it with a little bit of Teflon tape, and then connect a hose to it, and you have your overflow done. Next thing we're going to do is install it. So if you have a downspout you want to collect the water from, all you have to do is put a diverter on there, and this diverter will go right in. This one here has a built-in screen, and it'll filter out the debris before it goes into the barrel. You want to place that barrel on a block, cement block. You can use landscaping blocks. You can use any kind of bench that you build, but you just want to get it up in the air a little bit. You can get a bucket underneath it, or you want to get some sort of gravity flow out of that barrel. If you feel uncomfortable with the way you have it sitting, you can always strap it to the building. Just make sure you put the screen over the barrel, because if you get debris into there, it could end up clogging up your valve, and that makes it more of a nightmare than anything else. So now we've just completed the rain barrel. Very inexpensive. You can, if you get the $5 barrels from the bulk food storage, you're talking roughly under $50 for a rain barrel collection. If the rain barrels are ugly, you can always decorate them a little bit. Put your faces on there, paint them. Different styles, different ideas. Some make it look like a keg. And just design it any way you want to. Or you can purchase a system. Commercial systems run roughly a 50-gallon. I just looked this up, October 2020. A 50-gallon complete system is $99.74. Here's some little bit more fancier ones. The 50-gallon over here is $138. There's an 80-gallon one for $226. 100-gallon one for $579. So the better they look, the pricier they get. This store-bought system has a planter on top of it. It's a 90-gallon receptacle, and it runs about $217. That date's not right. I updated this. This is from 2020. I just looked all these prices up the other day. Now, if the 50-gallon drum is not sufficient enough, you can do other things. It's simple to add another barrel. All you have to do is tie them together. I myself would tie these a little different. Don't know if I would tie them down at the bottom here. I might go up and tie it up top where the overflow of this one runs into the one to the right. If you run it like this, the water level on both these barrels are going to stay equal all the way up, and then you'll have your overflows off each barrel. All you have to do is drill a hole in your barrel, run your connection, and then just attach the hose to that connection. And that water will go from one barrel to another. Now there's some creative ideas. Now they've just made $100 100-gallon collection tank. Good overflow design. One overflows into the next one, and then this overflows down below. This idea is pretty good. They're getting really creative now. Now you got a 200-gallon. Overflows, or the connecting, is all on the bottom. This one's definitely different. 300 gallons. Somebody came up with the innovation to make a bucket strainer. Has a little overflow up here. This bucket collects the water, filters it out, keeps all the debris out, and just goes right into your barrels. It's for easy cleaning of that strainer. So when you're designing your larger systems, you want to know how much water you can collect. How much water do you need? How much should you store? How are you going to transport it? Any questions so far? Because now we're going to get into some math of all this stuff. So this is just
an example of some places that might have a cheap barrel.
What's that?
Some places that might have an inexpensive barrel that's local.
I just looked at them online. They were food service. It was at the marketplace on Facebook, and they were charging $20 a barrel for a blue one. And I think Gary has a connection point somewhere in Oregon. I'm not sure where he gets his from.
We've had a couple of places in Portland. Yoshida's used to sell us, but they would sell by bulk. We were buying 30 or 40 barrels for a class, and they were charging us $10, which was a great price. And they had they were left over from the sauces and things like that, so we had to wash them out. But there's a couple of people over there. Anybody that has food grade, usually after the fact, they're just looking at a way to get rid of the barrels. And sometimes you can pick up some really good buys that way.
Yeah, you just have to basically check around. So anybody that handles bulk food is where you want to start with.
Art, the question is from the chat line, are you opposed to using oak wine barrels?
No, not at all. That's expensive. But they definitely work. Okay, this footprint measures about 3,400 square feet. Slope and height of the roof does not matter because you're taking the square footage of the roof. As you can see, this part right here is 300 square feet on each side. Down on the other side of the house is 700 square feet across, 700 square feet, 700 square feet, 700 square feet. So that's 2,800 for the 700s, and 600 gives you 3,400. So that's how they determine how much square foot of the roof. So how much of the collection area will you use? So we have a key over to the left-hand side. The little red circle means a downspout. The arrow is a gutter, and the rain barrels are the blue barrels. So I just picked a side of the roof to collect that water from, and we're going to use an area of 1,400 square feet. So the 700 right here on the left and 700 on the right is where we're going to collect the water. As you can see, I've got the rain barrel, and it's going to run from the gutter into that rain barrel right there. So next thing you want to find out is how much of an area you want to water. So I put an example down here is a 20 by 20 square, or 20 by 20 diameter or perimeter of a garden. So it's an area of 400 square feet. So it's 20 long by 20 wide. Storing the water. There's all different types of storage. You can use a 55-gallon drum or a 50-gallon drum, a 275-gallon tote, which is on the left here. Some people get cisterns dropped in, 1,000 to 5,000 gallons. So there's different ways to make this collection work great for you. So here's some rules of thumbs about calculating your storage requirements you need to know. An inch of rainfall falling on an area of approximately 1 square foot equals 0.623 gallons of water. A typical plastic food grade barrel will hold up to 50 gallons of rainwater. Irrigating a garden requires approximately 1 inch to 1.5 inches of water per week. And then annual rainfall in the Longview area is about 46 inches per year. However, during the summer drought, 1 June through approximately 31 August is only about 2.4 inches of that 46 inches. Longview gets its precipitation on an average of 183 days per year, and unfortunately that drought season is where we don't hardly get any precipitation at all. So now this is all things you have to be aware of when you're trying to calculate. So calculating the storage required. So if you remember, we picked 1,400 square feet of roof. And then we said it gets 1 square foot gives you about 6.623 gallons. And then you want to times that by 46 inches. And that's the annual rainfall per year. That gives you 40,121 gallons of rainwater per year. Roughly 803 barrels, 145 totes. And I didn't even calculate out the cisterns because I didn't know what sizes to pick. I just left that. Cisterns aren't used too much, but the totes and the barrels are used a lot. So that's a lot of rainfall for a year. So next you have to calculate your garden. So your garden, 400 square feet, 0.623 gallons per square foot. And then we said that it gets roughly 1.25 inches in that summer time frame. So you want to do this for 11 weeks, you multiply that out, and you need 3,426 gallons for irrigation over the summer. That still seems like quite a bit of water, but it's still going to offset for you. Because you got to remember, even during the summer months, we're still going to get some rain. So we got to calculate that factor in also. So here's where I calculated that stuff out at 400 square feet, roughly 2.4 inches of water over those 11 weeks gives you 600 gallons you're going to collect. Or excuse me, that's what your garden is going to get when it's raining. Sorry about that. And then at 1,400 square feet, which is your roof, times the 0.623 times the 2.4 inches, that's going to give you 2,100 gallons of water. So if you look up here, we needed 3,426 and a half gallons. So now you just take the 3,426.5 minus the 600 minus the 2,100, and it gives you an approximation of 726 and a half gallons to water during the summer months. So that's roughly 15 barrels or 3 totes. Does that make sense to everybody? How we offset everything and how we calculated everything.
Why do you multiply the 400 square feet of garden by 0.623? Isn't
That's
that
how much per square foot you get of rain on a square foot?
of garden?
Correct. So if you have 400 square feet, that 400 square feet is going to collect 0.623 per square foot.
So that's how much it's collecting, not how much it needs.
Correct. That's how much water it's getting.
Okay.
And then you multiply that by the 2.4 inches, and that's the rough estimation of how much water you get during the summer months.
Okay.
Make sense now?
I think so.
Okay. All right. And then the 1,400 is what the roof is going to collect. And that's your summer rain, and that's per square foot, and that's how much that gives you. So then you want to subtract all this out of your total, what you need. Because as you're using water during the summer, you're going to get some rain to fill those barrels back up again. So it sort of offsets everything. Okay, if you can't use a gravity flow, here's some ideas that you can just connect a pump to that barrel and pump it out. And these prices I just looked up also. These are different ideas. This is going to run, this one off here to the right, the 12 VDC, 5.5 gallons per minute, 80 PSI, runs about $54. And you just hook that up to a battery. This one here just runs into uses a receptacle, same idea. And then this one here is a little bit higher volume pump at 12.33 gallons per minute. And it'll actually run a sprinkler system if you need to. Okay, your design summary. You get plenty of rain water over the year. Unfortunately, it's just not at the right times. So you need to have storage. There are many ways to build your system, from simple to the complex. There's no right amount of storage you can design. So it just depends how much complexity you want to put in there and what you're comfortable in building and maintaining. So here's some samples I've done. This was my first system I ever put in. And this is coming off one of my shops. And it's a 275 gallon tote. I have it running right off my backside of my wood shop. Goes down into a collection tube. This is the top where it tees off up there is my overflow. It just runs right to the ground. And it's going right into my tote. I got these totes for $25. And I just saw them on Marketplace, or I was driving down the road. I saw one on Marketplace, and I saw one when I was driving down the road. So instead of I told you about putting a strainer in, my strainer is up on top of my gutter up here, and I put it up on top where it's going right down to the downspout. So all I have to do is keep my gutter clean. And it filters, that strainer is porous enough, it filters out everything and just lets the water come down. My piping is 1 inch. This is 180 feet of 1 inch PVC piping that runs down to my orchard. And I just use this water to water my orchard trees, anything that's newly planted. So right now it just takes care of about 8 trees. This is a second system I put in, another 275 gallon tote used to water ornamental beds. I've used both these totes for 4 years now. This one here just has a straight 3-inch run coming off the bottom of the tote, same basic design. My overflow is right there, ties in, and it also just comes right off down here. I've got 2 connections. I can drain the tank. I put 2 valves in there to drain out, one for quick and one's a distant run. So this distant run runs down to the end of the lean-to that it's sitting on. It goes to a valve, and my ornamental bed is right off here to the right. It's up high enough that I can put a bucket under there, collect water. And what I use here, I use a plant nanny, and I'll fill these things up. And I also run a soaker hose off that valve. So plant nanny is just something that you put in the ground. It's a terracotta spike that holds a wine bottle. You fill the wine bottle up, you turn the bottle upside down, and let it drain through that terracotta plant spike. That's all it does. That's all I use them for. And if I need any water around the area, I'll just take it out of there. Like I said, if I have to tote water all over the place, I don't like doing it, so I just make it easy. And this was the last system. This was a commercial grade barrel that somebody gave to me. Just finished this up this last weekend. This is a tree house on my property. And there's gutter. We just put the gutter in. It goes right around here and on 2 sides of the tree house, runs to one common downspout, comes down and collects right into the rain barrel. And I just use this to water some ornamentals right around this area right here. So it minimizes how much I got to tote water. And if I get into a really bad drought season, I just use those barrels. And plus I don't have to use, I empty my barrels every year. So it minimizes I'm on a well. So it minimizes the use of my pump and wear and tear off my well pump. So I've had this one just for a week now. We had rain on, I completed it on Saturday and the barrel's already full. So it filled up the first day I had it. And this is roughly a 50 gallon barrel. And this one up top has a whole screen. The whole top circle is screen. So it just comes right off my downspout and fills that barrel right up. And right off here to the right-hand side, there's a little hose and it has a connection to it. I can put another hose on there or whatever I want to use it for. So maintenance and accessories. You want to keep your roof, your gutters, and your downspouts clear of dirt and debris. You want to direct your overflows away from the structure, your foundation of your house or whatever it's collecting the water from. You want to empty your systems in the wintertime. You don't want these to freeze up on you. I keep mine open and drained all during the winter months. You don't need the water during the winter months. Just let them flush out and let them go and let them run free during the winter. And then I leave everything open, let it all empty out and stay empty all winter long. And then I'll shut it down usually around the end of February, beginning of March. I'll start collecting my water for the summer. Those 2 totes that I showed you the 275 gallon totes, those have supplied me water all summer long for my orchard and for all my ornamentals outside on my property area that I don't have to use my well water at all. I don't use it in my garden. I use my well for my garden and I stay clear of anything I'm eating. And if you do any watering of anything that like for trees and stuff like that, just make sure you water at the ground level. Make sure it doesn't get on any of the foliage. Okay, also your screens, if you get have a mosquito problem, you can just throw a mosquito dunk in there or mosquito bits. That'll keep the mosquitoes down. Leaf eaters, this goes on your gutter. This will allow the strainer right here, this filter, it'll allow the leaves to run off and the water to go through. A first flush diverter. So when you're first starting to get your rain, some people will put a first flush in there. I've never have done this. But what this does is this tees in on right before your tank or your collection tank. And this little pipe right here is going to fill up. And this ball is going to go floating up to the top. And it's going to shut it off from the first flush. And then you just open up this cap and drain it out if you want to flush more. And once that ball seats up on top, the water is going to flow to your tank. And these are just some soaker hoses and other connections you can do to put on your tank and systems. Now you got to worry about all the other water. You don't have to worry about it, but if you still have a lot of water and your tanks are overflowing all the time, and I think Gary covered this pretty well Tuesday when we had class on rain gardens. And this is just a brief talk about rain gardens. It just prevents erosion, reduces your impact on the environment, and recharges your groundwater. But you want to drain your overflow away from your house, and you can collect that water and let it build up in like a swell area. And that water will eventually drain out. And you can also put a garden in here and let the garden use that water, but you got to make sure that the garden plants you put in there are like their feet getting wet, because they're going to get wet. And here's a bar down in Oregon that I thought was pretty cool. They collect the rainwater. They've got half drums sitting up on top of this roof. Then they have it sitting on a metal, some sort of a solid base, and they got plants in there, and this is collecting all the water. And then as the runoff goes down, it's going to come off down here and go into this area down here. So it just drains right off down into this other rain garden. So I thought that was kind of neat what they did there. It was creative and imaginative. So what we covered is why capture rainwater, the Longview area rainfall, legalities, the safety, the constructing, the installation, the decorating, commercial types, larger systems, calculating needs, maintenance, and what to do with the excessive water. So that was pretty much a big topic. Any questions?
Go ahead and unmute and ask Art if you have any questions.
There is my references. Contact information if you want to become a master gardener. And there's upcoming classes. Go ahead and ask questions if you have any.
Any questions?